The supply run you and Daryl had been on was supposed to be simple. In and out. A quick run along the road to the west of Alexandria to try and find some buildings. Maybe find some canned goods, maybe some ammo if you were lucky. The woods are quiet, almost too quiet, but after everything you've survived since the world went to shit, you've learned not to question moments of calm. You and Daryl move easily together, falling into that silent rhythm the two of you have built over time. A glance. A nod. A shift of his crossbow. No words needed. You were just starting to think maybe this one would go smoothly. That's when your boot came down on something metallic hidden beneath leaves. A sharp snap split the air. And then pain. White-hot, blinding pain. Fuck. You scream as the force knocks you backward onto the forest floor. The impact rattles your bones, but it's nothing compared to the crushing agony clamped around your leg. You look down and your stomach drops. An old bear trap. Rusted teeth sunk deep into your calf. Shit. Daryl's voice is sharp as he drops to his knees beside you, already pulling his knife free. Hang on, hang on. Your hands claw at the dirt as tears sting your eyes. The metal bites deeper every time you move. Hold still, he says, his voice low but urgent. Okay. I'll try, you gasp, your chest heaving as you try to slow down your breathing. Daryl wedges the knife between the jaws of the trap, his jaw tight with focus. His forearms strain as he pries. Almost. The trap springs open with a metallic clang. Your leg jerks free, and the sudden release sends a fresh wave of agony through you. Fuck. You exclaim, clutching your leg. Daryl tosses the trap aside and grips your shoulders. Yeah, all right. You nod weakly. Yeah, I'm okay. It just hurts. Your gaze moves down to your injured leg. Blood seeps through the torn fabric of your pant leg. Even through the small holes through the fabric, you can tell that the punctures are deep, angry. Before you or Daryl can even move to look at your injury more, you hear something low, distant growls. Your blood runs cold. Walkers. Come on. We gotta move. Daryl slings his pack over his shoulder and stands, offering you his hand. Knowing that he's right, you don't hesitate in grabbing his hand. The moment you try to stand, though, your leg nearly gives out, causing a broken sound to leave your throat. Before you can fall to the ground, Daryl pulls your arm over and around his shoulders. I gotcha. Let's go, he says, his other arm around your waist, steady and strong, practically carrying your weight as you limp away from the sound of snapping branches and dragging feet behind you. The woods feel endless. Every step sends sharp pain shooting up your leg. Daryl moves fast but careful, scanning the trees constantly. After what feels like forever, nearly an hour of limping, stopping, listening, and then moving again, he finally slows. All right, let's stop here. You're barely processing anything when he guides you to a fallen log. Sit, he tells you as he guides you in front of the log. Easy does it. You lower yourself down with a shaky breath, stretching your injured leg out in front of you. Once settled on the log, your gaze lands on your leg, and you see the fabric of your pant leg is soaked dark with blood. Shit, you whisper, staring at the puncture wounds. Daryl kneels in front of you, already shaking off his bag from his shoulders to pull out gauze. Here. Let's wrap this up before it gets worse. Go for it, you mutter, bracing yourself. Daryl takes his knife and cuts your pant leg away so that he can see the wound. After grabbing some gauze and disinfectant from his pack, his hands are careful, gentler than you expect. He unscrews the cap of a small bottle of disinfectant from his pack, his blue eyes meeting yours. This is gonna sting. Yeah, I figured, you reply, bracing yourself for the pain. He doesn't warn you again. The liquid hits the wounds. You suck in a sharp breath through your teeth, hands fisting into the edge of the log. Shit, your voice trembles despite your effort to keep it steady. I know, he murmurs gently. I know. His free hand comes up instinctively, bracing just above your knee to keep your leg from jerking. His grip is firm, warm, grounding. You focus on that instead of the burn, instead of the pain. He works carefully, wiping away blood and dirt with a strip of cloth that was in his pack. His movements are precise, practiced. You've seen him patch himself up plenty of times. But this feels different. He's slower with you, more careful. Trap was old, he mutters, mostly to himself. Rusty. That's supposed to make me feel better, you question gently as you watch him work. Means it ain't been reset in a while, he replies. You huff weakly. Comforting. He finishes cleaning it, then starts wrapping your leg with the fresh gauze that he had pulled out of his pack. He starts wrapping it around your calf with steady hands, overlapping each layer tightly enough to secure, but not cut off circulation. You watch his fingers move. There's dried blood on his knuckles, yours. Does it look bad? You ask quietly after a moment. He doesn't answer right away. It'll heal, he says finally. That's not what I asked, Daryl. His eyes flick up to yours then. It ain't life-threatening, he says. But it's deep. You swallow. He ties off the gauze and presses lightly along the edges to make sure it's secure. You feel any numbness? He asks. No. Can you move your toes? You wiggle them slightly. It hurts, but they move. Yeah. He nods once, relieved, though he doesn't say it out loud. There's a long moment where neither of you speak before you try to stand. Your leg protests, immediately causing you to stumble, and Daryl catches you before you hit the ground. His arms wrap around you instinctively, steadying your waist. Easy, he says firmly. You grip his vest, breathing heavier now, not just from the pain that you feel from your leg. I hate this, you whisper. I hate being the one slowing us down. His expression shifts instantly. You ain't slowing me down. I can barely walk, Daryl. So what? He questions. You blink up at him. So I walk slower, he says, like it's obvious. I ain't gonna leave you behind. Your throat tightens at that. He adjusts your arm over his shoulders again, but this time his hold lingers a second longer than necessary. You ever gonna stop doing reckless shit? He mutters. I stepped on a hidden bear trap. Still counts. Despite everything, you laugh softly. He shakes his head, but there's the faintest ghost of a smile tugging at his mouth. Then he shifts slightly, setting you back down onto the log and crouching in front of you again. All right, he says. I'm gonna tighten this one more time. Daryl, you try to protest, but he cuts you off. I gotta make sure that it holds. He gently lifts your leg onto his thigh to get a better angle. The position brings him closer, close enough that you can feel the warmth radiating from him through his clothes. He rewraps the top layer more securely, fingers brushing your skin accidentally. You shiver, not from cold. His movements slow just slightly. You're shaken, he says quietly. Adrenaline, you lie. He doesn't call you out on it. When he's satisfied, he lowers your leg carefully back down and rests his hands there for a moment, as if reluctant to let go. You're gonna have a hell of a scar, he states. You glance at him. You saying I didn't already? That earns you a small snort. Guess it'll match the rest of us. There's something soft in his tone when he says that. Like you belong in that us. He finally stands, offering you his hand again. This time when you take it, your fingers lace with his for just a second longer than necessary, and he doesn't pull away. The walkers had finally thinned out. After nearly an hour of limping through dense woods, ducking behind trees and pausing every time a twig snapped, your injured leg was burning with every step. Sweat clings to your skin despite the cool air. Daryl's arm is firm around you, steady and unshaking. You still with me, he mutters quietly. Unfortunately, you breathe back, trying for humor, even though your vision is starting to blur at the edges. As you and Daryl continue to walk, the trees around you begin to thin. Through the branches, You see something unnatural to your left, straight lines cutting through the forest. Metal. Daryl, you whisper. Look. He stops instantly, lowering you slightly so you both can crouch behind a cluster of brush. He lifts his crossbow in one smooth motion as the two of you look through the trees. About 50 yards in front of you sits an old warehouse, half hidden by overgrowth. The siding is faded and peeling. One large loading bay door hangs crooked, and a faded company name is barely visible across the front. It looks abandoned. But so do most things these days. Do you see any movement? You asked softly. Daryl narrows his eyes, scanning the building slowly. Not yet. The wind pushes against the trees, making loose sheet metal rattle faintly somewhere on the structure. The sound makes your shoulders tense. Could be walkers inside, you say. Could be nothing, he replies. Your leg buckles slightly, forcing him to tighten his grip on you again. We ain't making it much farther, he said quietly. You know he's right. Okay, you nod. We check it. He shifts position, lowering you carefully behind a thicker tree trunk. Stay, he murmurs. You roll your eyes faintly. Where exactly would I go? A ghost of a smirk tugs at his mouth, brief but real. Then he moves toward the warehouse. Low. Silent. Efficient. You watch him weave through the trees toward the warehouse, crossbow raised, steps measured. Every few seconds he pauses, listening for movement, whether it be from walkers stuck inside or people living inside. As you watch him, the woods feel too loud without him beside you. Your heart pounds harder the longer he's gone. A crow suddenly bursts from the roof, flapping into the air with a harsh cry. The movement nearly makes you lift your pistol. Seconds later, you hear it, a dull thud. Then another. Your stomach drops. Walkers? You strain to see, but the angle blocks most of the loading bay entrance. After what feels like forever, Daryl emerges from the shadows near the side door. He looks towards you and lifts 2 fingers in your direction. Clear. Relief floods through you so fast your leg nearly gives out again. Daryl jogs back to you, slipping under your arm once more. 2 inside, he mutters. Took care of them. Just 2. He hums. Ain't been anyone here in a while. That's good. Probably. Together, you make your way toward the building, the gravel crunching softly beneath your boots. Every step closer makes the structure seem bigger. More looming. As you approach the loading bay, you can see dark streaks of old blood dried along the concrete near the entrance. A broken pallet lays off to one side. The inside beyond the doorway is shadowy and deep. You hesitate for a moment. Daryl notices immediately. Why'd you stop? You shake your head. It just feels exposed. He studies the open yard behind you, wide and visible from multiple angles. Better than the woods, he begins. Out there, we can't see what's coming. He's got a point. You nod, and he leads you inside. The air changes instantly, cooler, heavier. It smells like rust, mildew, and old oil. The high windows near the ceiling let in thin strips of fading sunlight. Rows of empty metal shelving line the walls. A forklift sits abandoned near the back, one tire completely flat. Your footsteps echo faintly across the concrete floor as Daryl guides you toward the center of the space, before carefully easing you down against a support pillar. Stay put, he says softly. You nod, watching him circle the perimeter one more time, checking corners, scanning the catwalk above, kicking lightly at stacked crates to make sure nothing was hiding behind them. He tests the side door. Locked. Checks the upstairs storage area. Clear. Finally, he comes back to you. It'll do. You exhale slowly, tension draining just a little. He crouches in front of you, eyes searching your face. For now, you add. For now, he agrees with a nod. As you sit on an old crate in the warehouse, the silence between you and Daryl stretches. You can practically see the gears turning in his head. The distance back to Alexandria. How fast you were moving before. How slow you are now. How many walkers might still be roaming around. You watch as he walks toward the warehouse entrance, peering outside through the cracked door. The sun is lower now. The shadows of the trees at the edge of the clearing are longer. Time is slipping. You watch his shoulders tense. Daryl, you ask quietly. He doesn't answer at first. Instead, he steps outside briefly, just far enough to scan the tree line. When he comes back inside a moment later, his expression tight as his eyes meet yours. Sun's dropping. You nod, trying to push through the pain radiating up your leg. We can make it, you insist. We've done worse. He looks at you then, really looks at you. Your pale face. The way you're holding your breath every few seconds to keep from groaning. The faint tremble in your hands. His jaw clenches. You can't even take 10 steps on your own. You hate that he's right. I just need a minute, you reply. You've had a minute, he replies back. The words aren't harsh. They're worried. So, what's the alternative? You snap. We just sit here all night? He doesn't answer. He starts pacing slowly, not far, just a few steps one way, then back. You've seen this before. This is Daryl trying to problem solve. There's gotta be something nearby, he mutters under his breath. Road can't be far. Might be a car left. Your heart skips. A car. You hadn't thought that far ahead. You think one would still run, you ask? Maybe, he replies. Maybe isn't comforting. He stops pacing and looks toward the warehouse entrance. You see it happen. The exact moment the idea settles fully in his mind. The decision forming. He looks back at you. You shake your head, immediately knowing what he's going to say. Don't. I didn't say nothing. You were about to, you argue back gently. He exhales slowly through his nose. You can't make that walk, he says carefully, like he's choosing each word. Not before dark. You swallow. I can try. And if we don't make it before nightfall, he presses. You want to be out there in the woods with that leg when it gets dark? You don't answer. Because the thought terrifies you. The warehouse groans softly as the wind hits the siding again. It's not safe. But it's shelter. He kneels in front of you, resting his forearms on his thighs. We ain't far from the road, he says. Saw tire tracks maybe a mile back. A mile, you repeat. He nods. Your stomach drops. You know what that means. I could check it, he continues quietly. See if there's something usable. Your voice comes out small. What about me? He doesn't answer right away. And that silence tells you everything. You stare at him. He stares back. Neither of you wants to say it out loud. Because once he does, it becomes real. The air feels heavier suddenly. Daryl, you whisper. He shifts slightly closer, like he's already bracing for the argument he knows is coming. You gotta stay here. He finally says it. And the words land like a gunshot. You shake your head immediately. No. His jaw tightens. Listen. No, your voice cracks, but you don't care. We'll figure something else out. There ain't nothing else we can do. He runs a hand through his hair, frustration flashing across his face, not at you, but at the situation. At himself. I ain't risking you passin' out halfway through the woods, he says to you after a moment. And I sure as hell ain't draggin' you through it if a herd rolls through. I won't pass out. You almost did 5 minutes ago. You go quiet. Because he's right. And you hate that he's right. He steps closer, crouching in front of you so you're eye level. Look at me. You don't want to. But you do anyway. His eyes aren't angry. They're scared. Daryl, you whimper as he turns away, slinging his pack over his shoulders while he grabs his crossbow. You can't make that walk on that leg, he says softer now. Not before dark. So what? I just sit here and hope nothing finds me. You question, you breathing picking up. This place isn't safe, Daryl. Nowhere's safe. That's not the... You try to protest, but he cuts you off by gripping your shoulders firm, grounding. Look, I cleared it. Twice. I'll block the door. You'll have cover. And if something gets in, you question. You shoot it, he answers. And if it's more than one, you press again, voice trembling. His expression flickers, just for a split second, and that's what breaks you. His jaw then tightens. Then you hide. Silence settles between you. You hate that this is normal now, conversations about how you might have to fight alone. YN, look at me, he whispers. You gulp as you look up at him again. You're stronger than you think, he continues quietly. You let out a shaky laugh. That's not what I'm worried about. His brows knit slightly. Then what? Your fingers tighten around your pistol. I'm worried you won't come back. So many people have told me that, you whisper shakily. And they never do. The admission slips out before you can stop it. For a moment, neither of you move. Daryl stills. His expression changes instantly. Not defensive. Hurt. I ain't them, he says. You don't know that. He adjusts his position in front of you until there's barely space between you. I do. His forehead almost brushes yours. I ain't walking away from you. I'm walking to get something that gets you home. Your breathing is uneven now. You promise, you ask, hating how small your voice sounds. His jaw flexes. I don't make promises I can't keep. His eyes lock with yours, blue and steady, but softer than usual. One of his hands comes up, curling around the back of your neck gently. Warm. Grounding. And then he leans in. His lips press against yours. You freeze, shocked, nearly tipping backward from the surprise, but the warmth spreads fast. The kiss is firm, sure, like he's trying to anchor the promise into you. He pulls back slowly a moment later, forehead brushing yours. I'll come back and get ya when I get a car, I promise, he says quietly, his thumb brushing lightly against your jaw. You keep your pistol close. Stay out of sight, he instructs. I'll be back. You search his face for any sign of doubt. You don't find any. Your throat tightens, but you nod. Okay, I believe you. After a moment of staring into each other's eyes, he leans down, kissing you again. Slower this time. Not rushed. Not just reassurance. It feels like a vow. When he pulls back a moment later, his hand lingers at your jaw. I'll come back, he says quietly. Even if I gotta steal the damn car from somebody still alive and breathing. Despite yourself, a shaky laugh escapes you. You keep that pistol in your hand. He continues as his forehead presses against yours briefly. And if you hear anything, you don't hesitate. And you? I don't hesitate either. There's something dangerous in his tone. Protectiveness. After a moment, he stands and steps back reluctantly. You feel the space immediately. He takes a moment to sling his crossbow over his shoulder, checks the bolts and adjusts the strap of his pack. Every small movement he makes feels like a countdown. Count to 60 after I leave, he says. Then move to that back corner. Less visible from the door. You nod slowly. Okay. He takes one last look at you, like he's burning the image into memory before he walks over to the door. Daryl, you call out quickly. He pauses at the door. Come back. His eyes meet yours. I will. Then he pushes the door open. Cool evening air rushes in. He steps outside. The door closes. You limp over to the door and slide the bar into place with trembling hands. Before you step away from the door, you watch him jog toward the tree line, crossbow ready, disappearing into the woods without looking back. Because if he looks back, he might hesitate. And you both know hesitation gets people killed. The warehouse swallows you in silence. You count. 1, 2, 3. Your breathing echoes louder than you'd like. By the time you hit 60, the only sound left is the faint wind outside and the distant creak of old metal shifting. You're alone. And all you can do now is trust that he meant it. The warehouse is too quiet after Daryl leaves. Every small sound makes your heart jump. A drip. A scuff. The building settling. Minutes stretch into what feels like hours. The pain in your leg throbs steadily now, less sharp, more heavy and aching. You adjust the gauze, trying not to look at the blood seeping faintly through. You start to think about all the time someone said they'd come back. And didn't. Your chest tightens. You grip your pistol tighter. You count your breaths. Inhale. Exhale. Don't panic. Daryl promised. He promised. That's when you hear it, an engine roaring in the distance. You freeze. It could be anyone. Your grip tightens around your pistol as the sound grows louder, tires crunching over gravel outside. The engine cuts abruptly. Silence. Footsteps approach. Your pulse pounds in your ears. The warehouse door rattles. You raise the gun with shaking hands. A moment passes before the door creaks open, and there he is. Daryl steps inside, crossbow slung over his back, a smudge of dirt across his cheek. Behind him, parked crooked but running, is an old beat-up sedan. Relief hits so hard it almost makes you dizzy. Daryl, you came back, you breathe. He gives you a look, half offended, half soft. Told you I would. You lower the pistol, your vision blurring slightly with emotion. Found her about 2 miles east, he says, jerking his head toward the car. Ain't pretty, but she runs. You laugh weakly, and it turns into something dangerously close to a sob. Daryl crosses the room in a few strides and kneels beside you. How's the leg? Still attached, you manage. Good, he nods as he slides one arm under your knees and the other behind your back before you can protest. He lifts you up like you weigh nothing. The cool air outside hits your face as he carries you toward the car. The world feels brighter somehow. Safer. The driver's side door hangs slightly crooked, one headlight's busted, but it's the most beautiful thing you've seen all day. He carefully settles you into the passenger seat, adjusting your leg so it rests gently across the dashboard. There, he mutters. Don't move it too much. You nod and he closes the door. You watch him walk around to the driver's side, the light from the setting sun catching in his hair. He slides in, shuts the door, and the engine rumbles back to life. For a moment, neither of you speak. He turns to look at you after a moment. Let's get you home. You smile. Yeah, let's go home. And with that, Daryl begins driving down the road, the warehouse disappearing in the rearview mirror. As Daryl drives, trees blur past. The tires hum against cracked asphalt. A few scattered walkers wander along the shoulder of the road, but Daryl doesn't slow down. You glance at him. He's focused. Jaw tight. One hand steady on the wheel. You really came back, you say softly. He shoots you a sideways look. You really thought I wouldn't? You hesitate. I didn't want to think that. His grip tightens slightly on the steering wheel. I ain't like everybody else, he says quietly. The words settle deep into your chest. You hesitate for a second before you reach for his free hand, your fingers brushing lightly against his hand. You expect him to pull away, but he doesn't. He actually links his fingers with yours, and he doesn't let go. The drive feels endless. The engine rattles every time Daryl presses the gas, and each bump in the road sends a sharp throb up your injured leg. You try not to react, but your fingers dig into the seat anyway. Daryl notices. He always notices. We're almost there, he mutters to you, eyes fixed on the road. You don't ask how he knows. He just does. The trees along the road begin to thin. The familiar stretch of cracked asphalt curves ahead, and then you see it. The tall, reinforced walls of Alexandria rising beyond the tree line. You feel your body relax as you're finally back home. For a second, just a second, you feel like you might cry. Daryl slows the car as you approach, engine rumbling lowly. One of the guards at the top of the wall to the right of the gate shifts, looking down towards the person who's down below guarding the gate. Daryl rolls down the window, ready to call out for them to open the gate for you, but before he can even say anything, there's movement at the gate. And then you see him. Rick steps out from the gate, his revolver resting low but ready in his hand out of habit. His eyes narrow slightly as he approaches the car. Daryl rolls down the window, more just as Rick stops a few feet from the hood. His gaze flicks from Daryl to you. His expression changes instantly, and he comes up to the driver's side window. What happened? He asks, voice firm but edged with concern. Trap, Daryl answers shortly. Bear trap. Rick's eyes drop to your leg, seeing the blood-soaked gauze. You bit? No, Daryl answers firmly before you can. Just metal. Rick exhales slowly, the tension in his body easing just a fraction. Okay, he nods once. Okay. You two run into anything else? He asks. Couple walkers. Nothing major, Daryl replies. Rick's eyes shift back to you again. You able to walk? You hesitate. Daryl answers for you. No. Rick exhales through his nose, nodding once like he expected that answer. Denise is at the infirmary, he says. I'll radio ahead. All right, Daryl nods. Open the gate. Rick calls out and the gate begins to open with a heavy metallic groan. The gate opens fully and Rick steps back, giving the car room to pass through the gate. But before Daryl drives forward, Rick leans slightly toward the open window. You did good, he says quietly, not just to Daryl. To both of you. Daryl gives a small nod. The car rolls through the gates. As you pass Rick, he walks alongside for a few steps, scanning the street behind you automatically, hand still resting near his revolver. Habit. Protection. Once fully inside, the gate closes behind you with a loud metallic thud. The sound echoes through the night air. Final. Safe. Daryl drives up to the infirmary and gets out, coming over to the passenger side to help you out. Easy does it, he tells you as he helps you up and out of the car, wrapping his arm around your waist, pulling you into his side. Before Daryl can bring you up the porch steps, Rick walks up to the two of you, his blue eyes lingering on you. You scared us, you know. You offer him a weak smile. Wasn't exactly on purpose. A faint flicker of amusement crosses his face. You get patched up, he says. We'll talk later. There's reassurance in his tone. Leadership. Steady ground. Will do, Constable, you smirk. That makes Rick chuckle before he walks back towards the gate. All right, Daryl begins. Come on, let's get you inside. You nod, ready to make your way up the steps. Before you can even take a step, though, Daryl keeps his arm around your waist as he slides his free arm under your knees, picking you up. You instinctively wrap your arms around his shoulders as he carries you up the porch steps. As Daryl gets onto the front porch, the front door opens and Denise stands in the doorway, her eyes widening at the sight of you. Oh my God, what happened? She asks, her voice full of worry and concern. Bear trap. Daryl replies as he steps inside and around her, and inside the house to the examination table. An old, rusted one. Okay, that's not great, but we can handle that, Denise says quickly, voice slightly shaky but focused as she grabs the supplies that she needs. Daryl sets you down carefully on the examination table like you're something fragile. Like you might break. Okay, let's take a look. Denise says as she steps up to your leg with a pair of scissors. You wince as she starts cutting away the gauze Daryl had wrapped around it earlier, and you reach for Daryl's sleeve instinctively, causing him to stay close to you at the side of the table. When Denise peels back the last layer of gauze, she inhales sharply. Okay, yeah, that's deep. Daryl's jaw tightens instantly. She gonna be all right? He asks. Denise nods quickly. Yeah, yes. It just needs to be cleaned properly and stitched in a few spots. We also need to watch for infection, though. Rusty metal is not ideal. You laugh weakly. That's the understatement of the year. Daryl doesn't laugh. He steps closer, standing near your shoulder now. Denise begins gently cleaning the wounds again, more thoroughly this time. The disinfectant burns worse than before. You suck in a sharp breath. Daryl's hand finds yours instantly. You didn't even realize you were reaching for him. He squeezes once. Hard. You squeeze back. Denise glances between the two of you but says nothing, focusing on her work. This is deep, she murmurs. But you're lucky. It missed anything major. Lucky. That word feels strange considering how the day started. Will she be able to walk? Daryl asks, voice low and steady, but you can hear the edge underneath. Yeah, Denise answers quickly. She'll need to stay off it for a few days. Maybe longer. Stitches, antibiotics, rest. But you try to protest, only for Daryl to cut you off. I'll make sure that she stays off her leg. You roll your eyes, but there's no fight in it. 10-second break. After what feels like forever, Denise finishes wrapping your leg properly, clean bandages, tight but comfortable. There, she says gently. All set. I want you back here tomorrow so I can check it again. Daryl nods before you can answer. I'll bring her. Thank you, Denise, you say softly. That's what I'm here for. Denise smiles gently, giving you a small, knowing smile before stepping away to wash her hands. Once she leaves the room quiets. Daryl's still holding your hand. You glance up at him. You came back. He looks down at you like the idea that he wouldn't come back for you still offends him. Told you I would. Your eyes sting. He notices. Hey, he says, stepping closer to you. His free hand brushes lightly against your hair. You're home. The word settles deep inside you. Home. The fear that had been coiled tight in your chest all day finally begins to loosen. You let yourself relax completely. Because he did come back. And he brought you home.